Alright, let's rate the Bethesda games. Just kidding, let's rate Fallout 3, New Vegas, and Fallout 4's DLCs. And yes, I'm gonna be a little bit biased because, let's be honest, it's a tier list. It's gonna have a bit of bias in it. So, let's go through this list and see what's the best and what's the worst. Alright, here's the list. And I guess we'll go in order of the releases, and I believe Fallout 3, the first release was Operation Anchorage, and it's between D and F. It's a pretty lackluster DLC. It's just straightforward, and there's really nothing interesting about it, in my opinion. You're basically playing a simulator in a game, which is kind of disappointing. So I'll put this at D tier for now. I might go to F, but hey, we gotta see what's what. Am I right? Now the next DLC of Fallout 3 was The Pit, and this one's okay actually. You're basically trying to free the slaves that are basically, you know, in slavery by Asher. This is a decent DLC, but it's not. I put this at B tier. The reason why I put this at B tier is because there are some really good unique weapons in this DLC, such as the Perfinator, for example. Really great weapon. And Asher's power armor, that was pretty cool. I do think that is unique, and it does add a bit to it. And the Trogs are a bit scary, but they're pretty much the base of spore carriers for Fallout New Vegas, I guess. I don't know. They're pretty much the same to me, except one has a green color palette and the other one's like a pinkish red. The next one is one of my favorites in Fallout 3, Broken Steel. Easily S tier for me. And here's the reason why. Broken Steel introduces some new accessories, such as the wigs, which I find to be hilariously stupid for the ghouls, but it's interesting. And not to mention they added in Tesla cannon. I thought the Tesla cannons were awesome actually. And they also introduced some really cool weapons, such as the Rapid Torch Flamer. Not to mention they increased the level cap by 10 levels, which is actually a huge plus in my book. And the story continues after the events of the Fallout 3 main story quest line, which is also a huge plus. So it's actually more world building in a sense, while at the same time adding more awesome content to it. So in my opinion, Broken Steel, solid S. This is a solid DLC in my opinion. Point Lookout, S tier or A tier, somewhere between here. I actually cannot decide. I'm gonna give this an S tier. This is a solid DLC for me, and the reason why is because some of the characters I find a bit goofy, and to be honest, I think if it was released now, it really wouldn't work. But for its time, when this DLC was released, it's pretty funny, and it kind of holds pretty well today because it's Bethesda. What else you expect? Not to mention some of the interesting apparel and weapons they have, such as the toy knife, which is basically a unique weapon that's kind of useless, and some awesome stuff like the pint-sized clown mask or something. Really cool accessory. I thought that looked amazing. Pretty solid all around. The bruisers and whatnot, they're pretty much just deformed hillbillies, and I find it to be so goofy. It works. It works in a funny sense. It's actually quite enjoyable, but I still think Broken Steel is better. Now on to the next one. This one is pretty much straightforward. It's this was the last DLC of Fallout 3, and everyone puts out an F tier, but I'll be honest, I just replayed this DLC, and I'm gonna put this at D tier. And yes, and the reason why it's not an F tier is because it's not like Fallout 4's DLCs where you just get, like, I'll get into that later, but you get what I'm saying. Mothership Zeta is bad, but it's goofy bad in my opinion. I know a lot of people say that it's just some shitty space simulator and whatnot, and it's just a really out of the book DLC, but I find it to be so goofy in almost every single aspect that it's hilariously funny. It's a fun, you just let it ride, it's a fun journey. But if you're looking at it from a critical standpoint, yeah, it's bad. But while it is bad all around, it has its funny moments. I think it's a bad, but a good bad DLC. Now on to Fallout New Vegas. Fallout New Vegas, all their DLCs are solid in my opinion. Dead Money. This is between an A and a B tier. I'm gonna put this at a B tier for now, and the reason why I'm not putting it at an A tier is because this DLC stands out completely. It is nothing like the rest of the DLCs in Fallout New Vegas. But one of the things I find a bit troublesome is that it is very scarce in terms of materials, resources, and survival. Like, this makes you second guess a lot of stuff, and not to mention the radio signals that it emits to your explosive caller in this DLC. It can be a bit troublesome, but it also adds a bit to the enticing moments, such as when things get serious. For example, I do wish you can go back to the Sierra Madre, but it actually does its purpose quite well. Now on to the next DLC, Honest Hearts. God damn it, Joshua Graham is pretty dope. Every time I see his character, he just stands out. Like every time I see him, I instantly just think of Honest Hearts. And the greatest thing of Honest Hearts, without a doubt, is Randall Clark, aka the Survivalist. There's a bit of backstory in Honest Hearts, but you need to find all the terminals and stuff that talks about Randall Clark. His story is amazing, and as a matter of fact, I'll put this ahead of Dead Money for certain. It's pretty solid now that I think about it. And the Survivalist Rifle, my second favorite weapon in Fallout New Vegas. Like the entirety of Fallout New Vegas, my second favorite weapon. Solid DLC now that I think about it. I would not put it at C tier. I refuse to. Old World Blues, A tier. This is a really good DLC in my opinion. I feel like Old World Blues is the better science fiction version of Mothership Zeta. It fixes like everything that Mothership Zeta suffers from. Like, Old World Blues have really funny characters such as Muggy and the professors at the sink. It also introduces awesome sci-fi stuff such as the layer energy rifle, the stealth suits, which I thought was cool, and it pretty much outdoes Mothership Zeta's science fiction in every way possible. Really nothing I can say that's bad about Old World Blues, but sometimes the enemies randomly teleport in front of you, which is actually quite annoying sometimes. They disappear and then reappear out of nowhere. Next DLC, Lonesome Road. This is an S, that simple. Solid DLC. If there's one thing I can say about Lonesome Road, it feels like a completion of the courier's journey. I think you should experience it for yourself, honestly. The map is a bit linear, but its story that it tells, it's amazing. It basically questions your morals, in a sense, as the courier, and it's a really good one too, in my opinion. The weapons are great, such as Red Glare and the shoulder-mounted machine gun. It also allows you to basically nuke the NCR or the Legion. So it's really about morals, but it's a really solid DLC in my opinion. Now, on to the Courier's Stash. C tier. Basically, the Courier's Stash was made to help beginners out, basically. It just basically gives you a bit more ammunition and weapons to choose from, and some leather armor and stuff. Nothing, it's not bad per se, it's just basically a beginner's kit. Gunrunner's Arsenal, aka GRA. Probably a B tier. It introduces some really great weapons, and that's all it does basically. It brings in some unique weapons in, such as the Smitty Special, Little Devil, and some other stuff. Now, oh boy, onto Fallout 4. Fallout 4's DLCs are pretty bad. Let's start off with Automatron. This is a C tier. It's better than the Courier Stash, but in my opinion, but this DLC is a bit lackluster in my opinion. If there's one thing I don't like about the automation, it feels pretty short. It's a really short DLC, and it basically introduces robot building, which I think that's the savior of this DLC. Because to be honest, I built some really cool sentry bots, and the customizations is pretty dope actually. And you can send them off to settlements to help defend them. So this is a C tier for me. I won't go into spoilers of this DLC because it's pretty anticlimactic if I'm being completely honest. Now, I believe the next two was Wasteland and Contraptions. Let's do Contraptions first. I believe this was $5, right? God damn. F tier. I'm saying it. F tier. These two, in my opinion, is F tier. I don't think it feels like an update patch. That's what it feels like to be. And they charge $5 for these two. It's kind of funny how I put Mothership Zeta higher. And the reason why is because at least it feels somewhat of a DLC. Even if it's a bad DLC, at least it feels something like it's worth that price. This is not worth it to me. I felt like if they just released Wasteland and Contraptions as a new update to Fallout 4, I feel like it makes much more sense, but instead they charge $5 each. And not to mention, they're separate, but it feels like they should have been together as one patch or something. Overall, I'm put these to an F tier. Vault Tech. I actually enjoy Vault Tech. It's actually pretty goofy. It's probably a C tier. I actually do like Vault Tech a lot. But the reason why it's not a B tier is because you're just basically playing The Sims, but in a vault. That's pretty straightforward. And there's nothing much to say about that. But it's pretty fun because you can basically do whatever you want in it. It's basically The Sims in Fallout 4. Okay, now the last two. Nuka World. I think the map is pretty solid, but the story and everything else kind of lacks loss. And don't get me wrong, I know this Quantum XO1 Power Armor or something. I forgot what it's called, but it feels like this is a low C tier for me. I do not enjoy this DLC as much as I thought I would. I mean, they gave those whackers and they do introduce some really cool stuff, but I don't know. Is it better than Dead Money and Honest Hearts in the Pit? No, I don't think so. Maybe the Pit might need to go lower. Oh wait, I forgot to move the Pit down. There it goes. Much better. Well, actually, much better. Now, Far Harbor, and then we're gonna reorganize if we need to after this. Far Harbor, A tier. Solid A tier. They introduced multiple endings for the main quest lines. Some really interesting characters. Solid map. Cool enemies such as anglers and whatnot. It's basically Point Lookout basically for Fallout 4. But much better. Okay. So now, let's reorganize. Fallout 3, Point Lookout, and Far Harbor. These two are actually the same. But I like Far Harbor better than Point Lookout. That's fact, so I'm going to drag Point Lookout down to A tier. Lonesome Road and Broken Steel. I'm going to keep these as is. These two, in my opinion, is solid to me. Like, Lonesome Road, you can argue that's linear, but this, I told you, I have a little bit of a personal bias because this DLC rocks, in my opinion. I'm going to keep S and A tier as is. Let's reorganize these. I'm going to keep this as is for now. I might go back and move the Pit down to C tier. Oh man, okay, let's fix this. Nuka World is better than Automatron, for certain. Is it better than Vault Tech? That's a fair argument. We can let that one go. So basically, Nuka World will be like a C plus, and then the pit will be like a B minus. So these two should be like side to side each other. Okay. Operation Anchorage and Mothership Zeta. I feel like these two, in my opinion, should be F tier, but I can't put this lower than... I can't put these two as the same as these two. It's just... I just can't do that. These two are... Don't get me wrong. Operation Anchorage and Mothership Zeta is abysmal. It's abysmal, and it takes such a long time to get through the main quest line, but at least it feels like a DLC. Not to mention, Contraptions of Wasteland is basically a patch that they decided to charge for because Bethesda's big brain. I'm gonna leave this as is. I know a lot of people would not agree with this tier list, but I like it the way it is. So I'm gonna end this here. Tell me what you think about this tier list. And I'll leave this tier list in the link down below, so go do it yourself and figure out what you want to be at the top and what you want at the bottom. And with that, I'm out. See ya.